How's it going, folks? This is Wayne Art, back with another lesson and something a little bit different today. We're going to talk about what I personally think, someone has reached sort of an intermediate level on the guitar. I know a lot of people can play a lot of songs and they think they know a lot about the guitar and stuff like that. But me, as a teacher, I always say, if you want to class yourself as an intermediate player, you should know all of these things that I'm going to list now, okay? So the first thing is obviously knowing all the open string notes. You should be able to do that backwards and forwards. And, even if you're not into, sort of theory and stuff like that on a guitar, I think one thing that is really useful is learning to read the notes on the fretboard, on the low E and the A string. Okay, so really useful for when you're getting into bar chords and things like that, or even scales. Now what I'm going to do from left to right, I'm just going to put the notes there. They should be there on the E string now, so that's starting on the low E string, that's from left to right. Okay, starting on the open E, then we got the F sharp, so you can follow that up. That's all the way up to the 12th fret, okay? So that's all the notes on the E string. The notes on the A string, I'm also going to do that from left to right now. So starting with the open A string, then we got an A sharp, and all those notes go up to the, again, up to the 12th fret. So we can sort of cover all those areas. Like I say, really useful to, if you're not into theory, but just learn how to read the notes on those two strings. That's the E and the A string. Okay, so really useful thing to do. Okay, so another thing I always say, is obviously learn all your basic open chords. And once you've learned all those chords, to get you to that intermediate level is, being able to change with all of those chords. Nice, smooth chord changes. Once you can do that, is be able to play at least 2 songs all the way through. And I don't necessarily mean sing and play songs. I know not everybody sings and plays. It's good if you can do that. But if you don't do that, just be able to sort of, maybe put a song on and play along at least 2 songs all the way through, exactly in time with the song. Nothing too complicated, just being able to get all the way through the song. Classic example, maybe something like Wonderwall, or Mad World, or Knocking on Heaven's Door, something like that. That aren't over difficult songs, but songs that you can play sort of all the way through. Okay. The next thing is bar chords. Be able to play bar chords off the E and the A string root. Sort of off the E string. Be able to play comfortably with those, those major bar chords with obviously the E shape behind, the minor shape. And also, off the A string root. So then we've got the, the minor shape, that's like the A minor chord, and the other one we tend to do, with the pad of our third finger is doing sort of an A shape behind that chord. So that's off the, the 5th string root. So if you can learn, those 4 bar chords, I think that, basically takes you to, an intermediate level. Being able to use those in songs. Okay, another thing I would say is learning some basic scales. Now, I know some people never go near scales. You just want to, play rhythm and be able to sing and play, or just strum a guitar or whatever. But even if you don't want to look at any lead guitar or anything like that, I do think it's really useful learning at least a couple of scale shapes. So I would recommend, maybe the pentatonic scale, just the first position, or the blues scale. As I said, I've done standalone lessons on these. And what it does give you is finger dexterity, you know what I mean? So there might be some songs, even if you are a rhythm player, they might have a few sort of, tricky riffs in and things like that. So being able to get that finger dexterity by learning a couple of basic scales will help you get those little tricky riffs in. And I think that sort of brings your playing on as well. So there we go. Now all of these tips that I'm giving, I've done, videos, standalone videos on all of these things. So, if you want to go and check those out, just put Wayne R guitar. If there's a certain field that you want to cover, you could look at bar chords, or learning all your basic open chords, even the notes on the fretboard. I've done a couple of sort of standalone lessons if you want to go and check those out. Another thing is obviously being able to strum, getting into a little bit of strumming. So an intermediate level, I say, is when you can start, comfortably using some sort of strumming patterns. Now I've done loads of lessons on strumming if you want to go and check those out, and being able to apply those to songs, whether you're singing and playing, or like I say, if you're not a singer, just being able to play it along with a record, or or a recording, a live recording or whatever. It's good to be able to do that. So there we go. So strumming patterns and things like that. Another thing is being able, as daft as it seems, guitar maintenance, you know, being able to change a string. So when you do get to an intermediate level, you're basically practicing a lot more, and at some point you will break a string. So it's obviously a good thing to do is learn how to replace a string, or, you know, replace all of the strings. It's quite easy to do on an acoustic guitar. Like I say, I have done a standalone lesson on this if you want to go and check those out. You know, that's another sort of useful tip, okay? And another thing, if you are a singer and a player, is getting out there and doing a few sort of open mic nights, or even just going around someone's barbecue and getting that confidence of sort of performing in front of people, okay? All these I class as sort of, you know, being an intermediate player, you know, when all these things start coming together. So there we go. Now, as I said, all these lessons are standalone lessons if you want to go and check those out. Now, if there's anything that you still struggle on, you know, I think YouTube is a great resource. I wish I had it when I started out all those years ago. But what I'd say about YouTube, and I'm not doing myself down here, you know, there's good teachers and bad teachers. But I generally find YouTube very vague. So if you're trying to look at a certain thing, even if you get a really good teacher, it's hard to sort of, you know, I know you can slow things down on YouTube, but sometimes it's hard to sort of digest and take things in. So if you still struggle at that, what I would guarantee is just get yourself a guitar teacher. Try and get yourself a good teacher. It'll show you things that you are struggling on, just to get you to that intermediate stage. And a bit of a shameless plug for me. Now, if you do want any one-to-one lessons, I actually do sort of online lessons. I do one-to-one lessons that I work in a private music school. But if you want either Skype or Zoom lessons, sometimes I work on FaceTime. All the information is in the description of how you know, get in touch with me. There's an email address down there. So if you would like a one-to-one lesson, you know, I'm more than willing to do that if I can fit you in. So go and check it out. So there you go. So just a lesson talking about how I think personally someone has reached sort of an intermediate level. So I hope you all found that useful, and I'll catch you for a lesson very soon. Take care.